This is really hard to keep the light on my face. According to Google, a cubit is 1.5 feet, which is a lot to gain through worrying. Kyle, I don't know what other things I did last year. Are you thinking about smaller scale things or details about the things that I did list? Should I revisit the annual survey now that it's 2015? Raina makes me more myself. Okay, my thought on this is that it's related to how I'm hanging out with, I guess this is more when I was younger. When I was hanging out with a certain group of friends, say the crazy group of friends, then I was the safe, thoughtful, hey, let's wait a second, or sorry, officer, we didn't mean it, I'll take them home kind of guy. But if I was hanging out with the more reserved friends, I was the one who everybody thought of as like the crazy punker who is starting trouble all the time. What I mean to say is that my personality kind of goes different directions depending on who I'm with, and Reina is really good at some of the more organizational things that I do at work, but that I don't do by default if there's somebody better at them. And so, yeah, that lets me be sort of specialize my personality. Gavin, you need to flip your phone. I'm going to put a link here. It's to a song about flipping your phone when you're recording video. I don't know how I feel about it. I like some of the people in the song, but then it uses dyslexia as like a derogatory term for people, and I'm not so cool with that. Gavin, you are full of fluffy nougat. Oh, also, relatedly, I got an article sent to me this week from a coworker about a Russian guy on a plane who was weirded out by the way that Americans and Brazilians on the plane were acting. And he said, Americans and South Americans, the Americas, we are peaches, and he, as an Eastern European, is a coconut. The idea being that we do a lot of small talking, and our small talk goes to a depth that he's surprised by, because he, on the other hand, would not even make eye contact with strangers generally, but just sort of stare forward and not engage. I'm starting to develop a theory that Kyle might be one of those, what are they called, Wonder Balls or something? Like they're big in Germany, and they're like a hollow chocolate shell, but on the inside there's like surprises. I think maybe Kyle's like that, or maybe like small pieces of harder candy floating around in space. I've been thinking about this. I think the thing is with Kyle, like, he's not hard on the outside, but he might be abrasive on the outside. Then there's like bits of softness floating inside, but not like a central soft core, but like, I don't know. I know there's softness there, but it's not always where I would think the softness would be. I have to do more thinking about this. Gavin, when you're wearing a sweatband like that so I can't see your hair, you look enough like me that I think that that's me in the picture and try to remember where I was that looked like that. It's disconcerting. Not just disconcerting, but it also reminds me of that Brian Williams thing going on where he misremembered what happened to him while he was flying with military helicopters in 2003 in Iraq. I think that relates to something I was talking to Gavin about on the phone, about the way that our memories are not this sort of computer memory that we might think of them as. Every time we access our memories, the memory gets deformed and reshaped some, and is sort of vulnerable to even like our self-conception. So if what our memory is doesn't agree with what we think of ourselves or what we thought of our former self at that time, we will often change the memory unintentionally in a way that fits it. There are a lot of reporter tricks to avoiding that problem, but when you're not in reporting mode, I understand why you wouldn't have those tricks active. Why you wouldn't be like citing your sources, for example, on things. So, Brian Williams, victim of being human. Such a shame. I saw an article this week, another article, challenging people to be sort of radically vulnerable as like one of the really hard things to do. And I think that's one of those sort of redefinitions of strength that I like to work on. I think that there's wisdom in the withdrawing that Kyle's talked about. Like, if you know that your body temperature's too hot, then don't get in a hot tub, or maybe just dangle your feet in. But if we're talking about like a crisis or a tragedy situation, I think there is wisdom in what Kyle said about not getting yourself so emotionally caught up that you aren't able to help. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with feeling the emotion, but yeah, again, like the wallowing in it. Like I was saying before, don't make the emotion the primary concern, I guess. Don't let it become more important than the event itself. By the way, that's Kyle and I kind of came away from that same conversation with different memories or different takes on it. I thought what I was saying was that it's okay to get hit by emotional events. The trick is to not let them derail you or get you stuck on a rail that goes in the wrong direction. So you let, to quote the Bene Gesserit litany against fear from Dune, you let the fear pass over and through you rather than stopping with inside the fear and just sort of soaking in it. Fear just being the emotion that is referenced in that particular quote, so that's what I'm going with on this one. Not that anybody's particularly fearful right now. Oh, another thing about strength and definitions of strength. I did some research on this one because I always get it wrong, but varying kinds of iron with varying amounts of carbon in them, either added back in or smelted out or whatever. The big thing is that while iron is generally stronger than steel, it's also more brittle, so that when steel reaches its point where it's going to deform, it bends, and iron tends to crack or shatter, which is worse. And that brings me to thinking about things like the Tao Te Ching, which is Eastern philosophical, like really old philosophical work that gave rise to some religious stuff later on. It says things like, encourages you to be more like a green branch than a brown branch on a tree. If you think about that, like the green branch, like you go to break it and it sort of bends instead. It doesn't actually break, and if it's still attached to the tree, it can actually repair itself and grow. Whereas the brown branch, it'll snap and be dead. And I think that's a kind of strength that gets not enough of a spotlight. See, because I was leaning forward into the darkness as if that wasn't on purpose. Ooh, I also saw a video from Foldable Human about Fight Club and sort of more toxic ideas of masculinity and strength in that, which I will link to. I think that's enough things to talk about for this week. Happy Valentine's Day. Monday morning, Raina and I are going to the fertility doctor to get her eggs extracted. um, which means that if this works, our child will have been technically conceived on Monday the 16th. So keep that in your records. The fun part is, Raina will not be pregnant for 3 or 5 days after that, because that's how this science works. The in vitro means that the actual insemination happens in glass. I hope you both have great weeks. I hope nobody freezes to death, because it's cold out. I had some sort of a thought about how all of the snowflakes falling down are precious, individual, unique snowflakes, but if you zoom out far enough that you can't see their unique beauty, they're really just a hassle, or potentially deadly. I don't know where that's going, but it's a thought. Bye! Quick supplemental. Gavin, you talked in your video about the dance marathon about what might feel a little bit like imposter syndrome, like you don't feel like you deserve the accolades you receive or the position you've gotten to. You feel like you might not be that good. That's a normal thing. That's what makes taking a compliment a hard skill to learn, I think. So I would suggest that you try to reframe compliments in your mind for others. So if somebody says they want their kids to grow up like you, sort of flip yourself to understanding the limited perspective that they have on your life, and say all they really know is that you're somebody who would spend 24 hours and a number of odd moments beforehand raising money for someone they don't really know. And that's commendable. So I commend you. But why don't the dance marathons start like in the morning when you wake up? Why do they make you walk around all day and then start standing around dancing all day? That doesn't seem like an efficient schedule. Schedule?